Welcome back, guys. Stay tuned now for a retrospective on the GTA series. When it comes to controversial video games, the Grand Theft Auto series has been in the spotlight since day one. Seeing as each and every character you play ends up being involved in various criminal acts such as drug trafficking, murder, robbery, and overall crimes against humanity, I can see why members of the public are concerned about kids playing these video games. I grew up with GTA and I turned out alright, so I personally have nothing wrong with them. The 3D and HD games are loosely based on actual cities in America, such as Liberty City being New York, Vice City being Miami, and San Andreas being Southern California. Gameplay focuses on an open world, where the player can choose missions to progress an overall story as well as engage in side activities, all consisting of action-adventure, driving, third-person shooting, occasional role-playing, stealth, and racing elements. The series has been critically acclaimed and commercially successful, having sold more than 150 million units as of September 2013. Development of the very first Grand Theft Auto game began back in 1995 by DMA Design, who created the classic game Lemmings and is now known as Rockstar North. The game was later released in 1997 as a top-down action-adventure game that was originally planned to be released on MS-DOS, Windows 95, the Sony PlayStation, the Sega Saturn, and the Ultra 64. However, it never made it to either the Sega Saturn or the Ultra 64, which is, as we know it now, the Nintendo 64. The original name that was chosen for this game was Race and Chase. I'm kinda glad that they didn't choose this, as it doesn't suit the gameplay as well as the name of an actual crime. GTA's players had limited lives, and the only way to gain points was by causing death and destruction amongst the traffic in the city, or to steal and sell cars for profit. To get to the large target of money required to complete a level, players would usually need to complete at least some of the missions to build up their multiplier. 2 years later, a mission pack called London 1969 was released, followed shortly the same year by London 1961 and Grand Theft Auto 2. Though Grand Theft Auto 2 was also top-down, it had implemented a number of new things, such as doing various missions for separate gangs located around the city, and adding SWAT teams, special agents, and even the army acting as high-level enemies for when local law enforcement just isn't enough to take little old you down. The developers decided to push the boundaries a little bit more with GTA 2 by calling a car dealership Wang Cars, plus countless other play-on words around the city. Not only was this installment released on the Dreamcast, but it was also on the Game Boy Color, as was the first Grand Theft Auto. Though the first Grand Theft Auto game was released in 1997, the series didn't break records or begin to slowly but surely desensitize the general population until 2001, where it became a major success with the release of Grand Theft Auto 3, which was voted the best game of 2001 in the US, amongst other prestigious awards. It was DMA Design's first game to be in a 3D world, and on the newest consoles at the time, being the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, and was immediately dubbed a thug simulator. Though I agree with that statement, I cannot deny that these games have been successful due to this very fact. The game is cited as a landmark in video game history for its far-reaching influence within the industry. At this point in time, GTA 3 was the most controversial in the series due to the realism of the 3D world compared to its predecessors. During the late 1990s, DMA went through a series of financial moves which saw the company sold 3 times in 2 years. In October 1997, DMA was bought by a British publisher, Gremlin Interactive. BMG Interactive, who had purchased the rights to GTA, were bought by Take-Two Interactive in March 1998, forming Rockstar Games. A little further down the track, DMA Design was sold to Take-Two Interactive and was shortly renamed to Rockstar Studios, to more fully integrate the studio with its parent company based in New York. Just 2 months later, in May, the name changed again, this time to Rockstar North, with Grand Theft Auto Vice City being released not long after, still riding the wave of success of GTA 3. Vice City was made with the same game engine as Grand Theft Auto 3, but with countless added features and a complete colour scheme change, seeing as the game was set back in the 1980s. Once again, a Grand Theft Auto game had received praise and high ratings from game critics, which aided in the groundbreaking sales of over 20 million copies. Celebrating its 10-year anniversary, Vice City was released on iOS and Android phones back in 2012. Like Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City has been labelled violent and explicit, and is considered highly controversial by many special interest groups, some of whom suggest that parental supervision is necessary when young people play this game, since children were never the game's intended audience. The ESRB rated this game M for mature. In Australia, it was censored in case of it receiving a refused classification rating, in which the ability to pick up the prostitute was blocked, so the game could be given an MA15+ rating. In 2010 though, these small cuts were added back and the game still retained the MA15+ rating. 2004 brought the release of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which, upon its release, was acclaimed by many reviewers who praised the music, story, and gameplay. It became the best-selling video game of 2004 and has sold over 27 million copies. It remains the best-selling PlayStation 2 game of all time. The game, like its predecessors, is cited as a landmark in video game history. There were countless A-list celebrities that had voiced cameos in San Andreas, including Samuel L. Jackson as Officer Frank Tenpenny, an extremely corrupt police officer who uses his knowledge of the gangs they are hired to stop to coerce them into surrendering some of their profits and supplies to them. The violence and sexual content of San Andreas has been the source of public concern and controversy once again. Between the release of San Andreas and Grand Theft Auto 4, 3 other games were released on both handheld consoles and PlayStation 2, called Grand Theft Auto Advance, Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories, and Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories, which act as filler games, as Rockstar North worked on the next generation of GTA. Grand Theft Auto 4 was the first installment into what would have been dubbed the HD universe, where Rockstar took a new direction in the series, focusing on realism and details instead of greater area and added content. The graphics were an incredible step up from the previous games, and this made players extremely excited. Unfortunately, there was less in GTA 4 compared to San Andreas, with fewer vehicles, weapons, story missions, and less character customization. However, the HD Universe games started getting rid of irrelevant spaces in favour of increasing the amount in the cities, including more buildings with greater interior detail, and improved traffic and pedestrian behaviour in order to make the cities more immersive. This included the completely redesigned versions of both Liberty City for GTA 4 and Los Santos for GTA 5. Another 3 games were released between GTA 4 and 5, with 2 of these being expansion packs for Grand Theft Auto 4, The Lost and the Damned and The Ballad of Gay Tony, with Chinatown Wars being released on PSP, DS and iOS. 2013 brought on Grand Theft Auto 5 and with it a whole load of awesome, and controversy once again. GTA 5 won an unbelievable amount of awards and incredibly high ratings, as well as generating over $800 million worldwide in revenue within the first 24 hours, equaling roughly 11 million copies being sold. 6 weeks after its release, Rockstar had shipped nearly 29 million copies of the game to retailers, exceeding the lifetime figures of Grand Theft Auto 4. On the 7th of October 2013, the game became the best-selling digital release on the PlayStation Store for PlayStation 3, breaking the previous record set by The Last of Us. Now, the main issue people had with this installment was the mission by the book, where you were forced to torture a man to get information out of him regarding a fugitive who poses a threat to the FIB. Though some felt that the use of torture was in poor taste, others felt that it was necessary for the sequence's purpose. All I can say that is the Grand Theft Auto franchise will continue to grow over time and leave more and more controversy in its wake. I eagerly await what Rockstar North has in store for us next.
Next week on Worldwide Gaming.